So welcome to the Asper Master of Business Administration information session for Canadian Indigenous students. So this session is intended for Canadian Indigenous students. So we are going to be covering information specific to the Asper and Indigenous community, letting you know all of the information that you need to prepare to apply to the MBA program and learn more about the student experience as well. We have Riley from our IBEP program and one of our alum, Jim Thunder, who's the policy manager at the Executive Council of the Government of Manitoba, here today to talk more about the student experience and Jim's experience in the MBA program. So my name is Jelaine. I'm the lead of graduate student recruitment. I am hosting the session today along with my colleagues and Jim. And if you ever do have any questions as you're going through this process, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you make sure that you're aware of our admission requirements, prepare to apply, and from that point on, I can help you and connect you with other Asper staff as well. Before we begin, I'll get started with our traditional territories acknowledgement. The Asper School of Business recognizes that we're on Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. And our business school is committed to moving forward on the path to reconciliation. And we recognize that this land we occupy is a community while understanding the historical events that have led us to today. And we've infused the Indigenous perspectives in our education as part of our research at the business school as well, and in business practice. And we know that that's essential to ensuring that the 94 calls to action outlined in the report from the TRC are implemented and practiced. And that is included in our strategic plan as well. And here at the Asper School of Business, we're a diverse and welcoming community for all. All right, so I'll first start off with a bit of an agenda of what we will be covering today. So I hope that this information session is helpful for all of you, no matter what stage of your journey towards an MBA you're at, whether that is maybe still in your undergraduate degree or hoping to pursue that on the road to MBA, or maybe you're ready to apply soon. So first, I'll start off with an introduction to our business school, some of the services and programs we have. Then I'll turn it over to Riley to talk about the Indigenous Business Education Partners, which is a community here at Asper. And then I'll talk about why you may want to pursue your MBA, some of the benefits of doing so, and why our students have gone on to the program. Then I'll welcome our alum guest speaker, Jim Thunder, to talk about his experience in the program. Then we'll go over those details. So what do you learn in the MBA program? What are some of those key skills you'll develop? How is it flexible and how can you fit it into your life, including your personal commitments and your family commitments? Then we'll go over important admission details, such as the GMAT exam that some of you may need, some exemption opportunities, and other pathways to admission. Then we'll finish off with a question and answer. So if you're able to hold your questions to the end, you can do so. And like I said, if you are okay with being recorded, you can unmute yourself at that point. And then if you would like, you can put questions in the Q&A box here on Zoom as we go through the session, and we can address them at the end. So our business school is the Business School of the University of Manitoba here in Winnipeg. We're the IH Asper School of Business. And some of you may already be familiar with us. Maybe you've heard of our business school, or some of you here today have completed your Bachelor of Commerce from us. Well, we do have quite a few degree options that you can choose from here. So we do have our Bachelor of Commerce degree. Some of you may be interested in pursuing that if you're not quite ready for your MBA. You'll also see those students around in our business building. And then at the graduate level, we do have a variety of programs, including research programs in management, which includes MSc and PhD. So if you are more interested in the research side of management, Maybe you want to conduct research or go on to be a professor and faculty member. That could be something you may want to pursue. And then, of course, we're here today talking about our MBA, Master of Business Administration. We also have 2 other professional programs, and you'll interact with these students a lot. We have our Master of Finance program, which prepares you to work in finance careers and for the CFA exams. And we have our Master of Supply Chain Management and Logistics, which prepares you to be a leader in those industries and adjacent fields. So if you are interested instead in either of those programs, please just get in touch with me and I'd be happy to share more. Then we have our new concurrent JD MBA degree as well that I'll talk about in just a moment, which is a concurrent law degree and MBA, which could be a great opportunity for those of you who are interested in that law side as well. So here at the Asper School of Business, we are known for all of the great connections that you have access to as a student here. And this is something that you'll find as you go through your degree. We have a lot of groups here in the business school who are there to support you through your MBA journey. Those include services such as our Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship. This is a really unique center that we have in the business building, open to any students who are interested in starting their own business venture. So if that's something that maybe is a reason why you're going into the MBA, or maybe you find that it's an interest, they're there to help you start your business, come up with a business plan. They host webinars and events for you as well, venture competitions, and more. So they have a venture coach that can assist you with that. And then we have the Career Development Center. They're there for you when you're a student and afterwards, and they're dedicated. We have dedicated staff just for our graduate students. So you're always welcome to make a one-on-one appointment with them if you have any questions about preparing for your career, the job search process, and more. And then we have experiential learning opportunities. So that can include anything from getting involved in case competitions to our graduate student association and getting involved in those venture competitions that I mentioned as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can expand your knowledge beyond just your classes. And then, of course, we have our Indigenous business education partners, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So I'm just checking the chat here. It looks like we have people joining from all around Canada. So welcome, everyone. Oh, that's great. We have people from out of province as well. So really happy to see you here today. It's a pretty nice day in Winnipeg, I would say. It's getting a little bit warmer. So I'm happy to see that we have people joining us from everywhere, and welcome to the session. So before we get into MBA, I do just want to quickly go over some info about our brand new concurrent JD MBA program. This will allow you to receive both a JD, which is the law degree, and an MBA degree in just 4 years instead of 5. So I know some of you here today had expressed interest in maybe using your MBA to go into law or policy, and this can be a great way to maybe have a bit more influence and law background on that side. So if you're interested in this, please connect with me, but it does start off with a law application. So you do have to meet their requirements, including the LSAT exam, and indicate your interest to pursue an MBA. Then you alternate years of your law courses and MBA and apply to the MBA program once you're already in the law school. So this can be a really interesting opportunity. So here at the graduate school, we do have some really wonderful spaces that are just for our graduate students. And before I go into those, I will mention that our MBA program and our other degrees are all in person. So if you live outside of Winnipeg, which I know many of you here today do, this could be something that you can pursue when you're ready to move to Winnipeg and study in person. With that being said, our classes are flexible. Many of them are offered in the evening, and I'll talk more about that later. But we have really nice spaces, including a graduate student lounge where you can heat up your food before your class, maybe after your work, study, hang out with your students and your peers there. We have boardrooms that you can rent out with all of the tech setup you need to prepare for presentations. and your classes, and lots of really nice renovated classroom spaces, all just in the one building, our business building. So now I'll turn it over to Riley Prue. He is our acting director of the Indigenous Business Education Partners, or IBEP.
Hey, thanks, Jillian. Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'll talk a little bit more about IBEP, as we call it, for short with us. The first thing is that, with welcoming community of students there, our students really are invested in creating a strong and vibrant community of Indigenous business professionals, be it they do their BCom first and then, or they do their MBA, or they're in the process somewhere between those. They really do care about the success of their peers, just as much in the classroom as after they graduate. Our network is very strong and connected to this day. And we have, as of now, 182 graduates that have come through IBEP in almost 30 years. Aside from that, we do have a dedicated study space. So the lounge is kind of pictured there as the second one on the slide. And within it, there is a bookable breakout room. It's excellent for group meetings, for study period time, for somewhere quiet to be, or even booking for tutoring services, which kind of transitions us to the academic support. We do offer tutoring for our more math-based introductory courses that we'll be able to kind of assist you with that, from either just passing the course or turning it into an A. As far as mentoring, we have our peer support connections that are between our members to act as mentors in different stages, throughout their careers, throughout their studies, and the networking opportunities that we put on range from small, more personalized events that are hosted in our lounge with a single employer to discuss a little bit more casually, all the way to an awards gala event that we host in November, the Visionary Indigenous Business Excellence Awards, that has that business formal attire, and you get to sit with a company and develop that network a little bit more personally and stronger. Aside from that, scholarships and bursaries, we do have a large amount, increasingly more so for master's students, and Jelaine is going to talk about a little bit that much later on the slides. And we said networking opportunities as well. Good, next slide. So as far as applying to IBEP, you can apply at any point throughout the year. There's no set intake period. When you have the time to complete your application is the best time to join IBEP. You can find our application online at the URL there. But if you search just Asper IBEP in any Google or search engine, it'll probably come up as the first result. If you have any questions about the application, please reach out. We do, we'll be able to help you with that and get you started and set up with an individualized orientation meeting upon acceptance of your membership.
All right, thanks so much, Riley. I definitely encourage all of you to join IBEP. It's a really great group of students who are going through the same program as you. So on that note, we are also part of the larger community, which includes our Indigenous community on campus, which is very vibrant and offers a lot of great services, student groups, and events that you can join. So here at the university, our staff, faculty, and elders are well equipped to ensure that your university experience here at the University of Manitoba is beneficial, accessible, and successful. So you can find that in some of our spaces on campus. In the photo here on the left, that is Migizi Agamik, which means Bald Eagle Lodge in the Ojibwe language. That is a really welcoming community of staff and students, and kind of a home away from home for students, especially those of you who may be coming to the university from outside of Winnipeg. It is a space that's often open. They have a computer lab, a student lounge, a great gathering space, kitchen, circle room, and more. And it's also home to much of the services and units like our Indigenous Student Center, the Indigenous Achievement, and the Indigenous Students Association. So I definitely encourage you to check out that building when you do come to campus. And I will note on the Indigenous community as well, our brand new incoming University of Manitoba Vice President of Indigenous, Angie Bruce. She's an Asper MBA graduate herself. So she's coming into that role, and that role develops and executes a university-wide strategy that promotes reconciliation and advances the university's commitment to Indigenous engagement and achievement. And we do also host, on that achievement note, an annual graduation powwow that actually has been going on for over 30 years, almost 35 years, that celebrates and honors the achievements of our Indigenous graduates. So that's something that you can look forward to at the end of your MBA journey. So now we'll talk a bit about the program. So why are students taking an MBA, and why should you take an MBA here at Asper? I mentioned that we do have a lot of great supports and services and experiential learning opportunities for you. And I would say that's really something that sets our program apart versus some other MBA programs that you may see. And we do have a really well-connected community of students here. So it definitely has more of that community feel where students are supporting each other through their MBA journey. But I'm going to go over some of the common learning objectives that you can get out of an MBA. So an MBA, the Master of Business Administration here at Asper, can grow you into a leader by developing these skills, and it'll help you be better equipped to respond to business challenges. So all of you who are coming out of the MBA will have that strong knowledge and framework to operate a business or to start your own business. So that's something that we see, that people will go on to become entrepreneurs after the MBA, but these are just some of the common skills that our graduates will develop. So a large part of the MBA program, and one thing that kind of sets you apart as a leader versus someone who's more in the beginning stages of their career, is developing that strategic thinking mindset and the skills that are needed for that. So in the MBA program, this is really woven into a lot of your courses, and you'll be able to perform a strategic analysis and make appropriate recommendations in the context of your business. So that's an important skill that you'll develop in your courses, really making sure that you have that strategy and the ethics to back that up as well. And we do also weave in global understanding in our courses. So you'll be able to recognize how different global factors impact business and business conduct. So this includes things like economic factors, cultural, financial, and political. And then ethics is a huge component of this as well. So we want to help build ethical executives and leaders. So you'll be able to consider ethical issues when you're recommending solutions to business problems. So this can include things like equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as sustainability. And then, of course, quantitative and financial proficiency is an important part of the degree as well. We understand that people are coming in with different levels of quantitative proficiency. So this is a skill that we will develop as part of the degree and build on what you already have. And this is important to be a successful leader. So being able to demonstrate the ability to approach business issues with that quantitative and financial analysis. And then Indigenous business relations is key in our courses as well. So we really recognize the opportunity and the responsibility that we have to advance reconciliation and informing that with an understanding of Indigenous worldviews and knowledge systems. And one way that we offer that is through a course as part of our interdisciplinary management topics. So this is an elective that the topic can change kind of each term, and it's taught by experts in different areas. And we have had for the past few years a course available called Indigenous Business Relations. And that course addresses the unique opportunities that exist in partnership with and through the development of Indigenous businesses. So really understanding what makes Indigenous business distinct and the dynamics that impact both the daily operations and that strategic direction. So that course works to give our MBA students insight into working with Indigenous business communities. So it goes over important historical context, understanding some unique Indigenous business challenges, Indigenous negotiation strategies, and the role that our MBA students have as individuals and future leaders, and some steps that they can take in their organizations to advance that relationship between Indigenous peoples and other Canadians. So that's a really great course that you can take as part of your electives here in the MBA program. Then lastly, one of those key skills you'll develop is teamwork. So that is really important in the program, and it's something that students really enjoy about the MBA is you're working with people from all different backgrounds. So you'll learn how to work effectively in a collaborative setting, in a group setting. A lot of that is done through the actual work you do. So group projects, presentations with other students, and just that interaction in your classes as well. You'll be able to hear from all different perspectives, and you certainly have a lot to offer in that as well. I like to say everyone brings their own unique skills and background into the MBA program, and that really helps us all get the most out of the degree. It's just learning from each other and learning how to manage different work styles as well. You'll learn a lot of that through your group work. So what are some of the top reasons that our graduates enrolled in the MBA? So number one was to improve their career options. So to advance into that management or leadership position and to make a difference in their business. So the MBA degree will really give you knowledge about those different areas of business. So you may pursue something maybe new and unexpected when you graduate from the MBA program, or you can use those skills that you receive to advance your skills in your current line of work, or start your own business venture if you want to be an entrepreneur, or start a nonprofit, things like that. We've had graduates go into all different areas. And then the second most common reason was to develop those management skills and knowledge. So that is, of course, a key reason to do the MBA program. We'll be sure that you all have that skill set and that mindset to be a leader. And this can really help you solve problems and create change, whether that's in your company or your community. The MBA program can equip you with those skills that will help you elevate that. And then the third most common reason was the opportunity to change careers and personally improve. And that's something that I hear a lot is students are looking to grow personally through the degree. And it's, as I mentioned, really a collaborative degree, really welcoming community of students. And that's one great thing about being in the program is you're part of that community with your peers. So you're all learning together and you're growing, being vulnerable as you learn. And students in the program really empower and support one another through that process. So our graduates have been really happy with the program. Over 86% of them said it exceeded their expectations. And we do see our graduates moving on to those more senior positions. So 61% of our graduates held a more senior position upon graduation than when they started the program. So you can look forward to advancing on to that next step of your career or starting a new venture. You can see our graduates on average had a range of salaries. So anywhere from around $75,000 on average for a part-time student to closer to $100,000 for a full-time student upon graduation. But they're working in all different sectors. So this is really something that we see as our graduates are starting their own businesses in many areas or going into consulting, marketing, finance and accounting areas, IT, government, nonprofit, and more. So you can really apply the MBA to whatever career or venture you're hoping to pursue. And on that note, I do just want to kind of bust a common misconception that I hear is that you need a business degree to pursue your MBA. That is actually not the case. And I would encourage you to still think about pursuing your MBA, even if you don't have that formal business education. You'll see that actually most of our students in the program don't have a business background. Of course, some are coming in with a business degree, but many of them are coming in with different backgrounds. So we've seen people come in with a social work background, education, arts, engineering, science, nonprofit, environment, and more. So really everyone has something to contribute with their education background, their work experience background, and just contributing those different perspectives to our class discussions and to the degree. So you can leave the program with those leadership skills that I mentioned that can be applied to many paths, and each of you will be able to pursue that. So we've had our graduates go into a lot of different areas. So some of our graduates have gone on to work in nonprofit, in government. So for example, we've had graduates go on to work in supply chain for the provincial government. We have a graduate who's an executive at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. And our graduates have gone on to really make a difference in health as well through being executives at health authorities here in Manitoba and around Canada and working in community health organizations. So there's lots of ways that you can use your MBA to really make an impact. We've also had our graduates go on to work in education, so become professors. And as I mentioned, our new Vice President Indigenous is an Asper MBA alum herself. We've also had them go into more traditional roles in business leadership and executive, so CEOs and CFOs in areas like health that I mentioned, energy, development, and more. And our graduates are also using their background from the MBA program to become entrepreneurs and create change in that way as well. So we've had our grads who've gone on to start businesses that they have created to really make an impact in something that's important to them. So this could be through consulting firms and small businesses. And we've had graduates who've used that opportunity to pursue things like starting a virtual counseling service to improve student access to mental health services. And that student actually said that he never saw himself as an entrepreneur before starting the MBA program. He didn't have a plan to start his own business, but through the encouragement of his friends and peers in the program, and through actually getting the chance to do those venture competitions and present his ideas in class, he realized that it was something that he could pursue and was able to kind of test that out in a smaller environment before graduating. We have another grad who's gone on to start a company to help other women entrepreneurs launch their own businesses. And then one of our graduates is Kathleen Blue Sky. You may have seen a recent story on her. She's one of our program alum who served in high-level positions at the Assembly of Manitoba Chief and the now interim CEO of Treaty One Development Corp and the CEO of Seven Feathers Consulting, which is her own practice. So we're really proud of our alumni who've really used their education to go into these diverse areas and sectors. So I hope that gives you a bit of a picture of what you may want to do with an MBA degree. And on that note, I welcome one of our alumni, one of our esteemed alumni, Jim Thunder, who's worked in many of these areas and is here to speak today about his experience in the program and what it's meant to him. He's now a policy manager at the Executive Council in the Government of Manitoba. So welcome, Jim.
Awesome, thanks so much. Bonjour, Jim Thunder, in addition to cause. Sachiko Lake Nindunji. Hello, my name is Jimmy Thunder, and I'm a proud member of Sachiko Lake First Nation, and really excited to be here today. I think if I was to summarize what I want to say, it's that you can do it. It'll be hard work, but it'll be incredibly worth it. When I first registered for my MBA information session way back, I actually didn't show up for my information session. I didn't think that that I would qualify for the MBA. I didn't think it was worth my time. At that time, I was a truck driver for a moving company, and I was a youth care practitioner. And so if you look back at Jelane's slides about the different reasons why people wanted the MBA program, I checked all those boxes. But for me, what was motivating was I wanted to do more for the community, and I wanted to contribute to some big high-level changes in society to make things better for the community, to make things better for people. And so, yeah, like I thought, hey, I don't have an undergraduate degree in business. My undergraduate degree is in, I had one in TESOL and I had one in theology. And and I didn't have any business experience, or management experience. So I didn't even attend that first information session. I only heard about the MBA because my brother, Andrew, was interested in taking his MBA. So, I decided, you know what, I'll show up. And I sat through the information session and I learned, hey, I don't need an undergrad in business. And, I actually found, hey, I can do this. I can probably do this. So I made a plan. There's three different areas that I was looking at. So post-secondary, you need a post-secondary degree with, they look at your grades in terms of determining if you will apply for the MBA or not. The second is your experience, what type of business experience you have, or management experience, or just work experience generally. And then thirdly, GMAT, among other things. These were the ones I was focused on, and this is what I took away from my information session. So I said to myself, okay, so my grades are already done. I didn't have excellent grades in my post-secondary degree. My experience is what it is, but I thought, that GMAT, they look at our applications holistically. And I thought to myself, if there's any area where I can really offset some of the weaknesses, it's the GMAT. So I made myself a plan, and I flew to Toronto. I didn't need to, but I wanted to just say, okay, this is a change for me. I'm gonna go all in on this. And so I took a GMAT information session, and then I just studied hard. I shut everything else out. I studied hard for that weekend, and then I made a study plan for a year. So I really gave it all to try to round out the edges. Because I think for us, Kathleen Blue Sky, I recommend reading her story. She talks about something called internalized oppression. And so for us as First Nations people, as a result of intergenerational trauma through residential schools and a lot of the other, byproducts of the Indian Act, we have this thing called internalized oppression. And it's where we don't see ourselves in places of authority or decision-making positions. If you listen to the very successful Michelle Cameron, she talks about going to the bank and seeing an Indigenous person in the bank and being, so surprised that, hey, as Indigenous people, we can aspire to that level, not even realizing that she would be a massively successful entrepreneur in Canada. So for me, this was something that I had to overcome. And so I made the plan. I applied, and my plan was, if I don't get in this year, I'm going to apply every single year until I get into the program. And I'm just going to ask them, Kate, what do I need to improve on? And I'll make the plan, and I'll just keep applying year after year until I got into the program. And so I lucked out, and in my first year that I applied, I got in. And so and again, so it's possible. And but it was hard work, and even getting into it, the course was hard. The courses were hard. I didn't have a background in, I didn't know what the difference was between like a sole proprietorship or corporation, or limited liability. I didn't know limited liability partnership. I didn't know a lot of the basics, and so it was a really steep learning curve the first year, especially. But I made it through, and it was worth it. One of the things that I got out of it is a large network of friends. I was able to connect with people through IBEP. I made some friends that were able to give me, some support. We had an IBEP tutor who actually was an undergrad tutor named Carter Wilson. He was doing his undergrad at the time, and he's helping MBAs. Like, he was a genius, and he was Indigenous. But yeah, so just making connections there, and just making friends within the program. I heard it said that, it's the people that are there in the trenches with you that can really help. And during our orientation, it was encouraged for us to work together. So I made a lot of friends, and I built a strong network that has helped me even years after I was done the program. Just to, I can call up this person for this type of problem and this person for that type of problem. So it was really great. I also developed, knowledge and skills, problem-solving skills. Having those letters gives you credibility, opens the doors for new opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. But also the confidence, just dealing with that internalized depression, and as you open one door, another one opens. And that's the incredible thing about the MBA program is you have a huge diversity of people that come into the program, and you have a huge number of pathways that go out. And that was what really first caught my attention, because I didn't know what path I wanted, but I knew I wanted to contribute to change in society and in my community. And so that was good. And the confidence building came through things like the MBA games, which was a chance for us to come together and compete with other schools all across Canada, and we gelled as a team, and and everybody had a role to play, and you realize that even myself, I had some skills that I could have contributed to the team. So a lot of that was really great, and it was really meaningful. After graduating, I became an accountant at the Assembly of Manitoba. I became accountant at MNP. From there, I was a business development officer at the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, traveling to different First Nations and helping them address the default prevention management policy to get them out of co-management. From there, I was part-time. I started teaching at the university, teaching Indigenous economic leadership at the University of Manitoba. I also started teaching as an adjunct professor on themes related to truth and reconciliation at Horizon College in Saskatoon. And so I started to be able to contribute to these changes, that I wanted to see in society. I started a nonprofit called Reconciliation Thunder Inc. And so you can just Google Reconciliation Thunder, find us on Facebook. And this was a passion of mine, to teach as many people as possible about the basics of truth and reconciliation. I became the Director of Economic Development for Norway House Cree Nation. And just this past week, I started my first week as a policy manager for the Executive Council. So working for the First Nation Premier in this province. And so this idea of wanting to make a difference and contributing, it's been very rewarding. It's been hard work, but I just want to encourage, if you're here and you're thinking about it, we need you. We need you to apply. We need more Indigenous MBAs. If you look at the National Indigenous Economic Strategy, there's 4 components of it, and one of them is what they call the people component. And so that's where there's opportunities for Indigenous leaders to rise up all across the country and take their places. In order to build strong economies, you need to have Indigenous people behind it. I made a post talking about how, in Manitoba, using Manitoba as an example, we contributed $6.2 billion to the provincial economy. Yet we have, the current estimate is that it's less than 20 First Nation MBAs, just speaking about First Nations. So there's an opportunity for us. And when we have the ability to shape the economy, our Indigenous knowledge will shape how things are done. We're going to shape corporate cultures. We're going to be able to contribute, not only to our individual communities, but being able to shape the nation. And now is a great time for us to do it. There's plenty of opportunity. So we need you guys to sign up. Look at the opportunity here with the JD MBA. Great pathway for those interested in chief, grand chief, counselor. That'll give you the tools you need to really do that job well. So so with that, I just want to encourage everyone, you can do it. It'll be hard work, but it's worth it. So make your plan. So maybe you're watching today, and maybe you're looking at those 3 pillars that I was looking at. Your undergrad. Maybe you're not done your undergrad. Maybe you need to go back and start, or maybe you're in your final years. You want to get those grades up. You want to get you make a plan to so that when you do go for your MBA, that you're going to have a good shot at it. Or maybe it's work experience. Maybe you got to spend some time, getting better work experience. Or the GMAT. Maybe you got to make a plan for the GMAT, just like I did. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Just make a plan. Just focus on it. Just work hard. You can do it. I encourage you to also listen to Kathleen Blue Sky's story. I want to encourage everyone to do it. You can do it, and we need you. Thank you so much for listening. Get you miigwech.
Thanks so much, Jim. It was really great to have you here today, and we're really proud to have you as one of our alum of the MBA program. And I really liked what you were saying about being able to see yourself in leadership roles and get those tools to be able to make an impact. So thank you so much. All right, so on that note, we'll go on to talk a bit more about the degree. So what kind of classes are you taking? What flexibility is offered? And what your schedule and your life will look like in the program. So first off, the program is known as one of the most flexible MBAs in Canada. And that really comes in a few different ways. One of those ways is the ability to either complete your MBA full-time, if that's something that you'd like to dedicate yourself to. Full-time can be done in 12 to 24 months. 12 months is going to be much more intensive. More commonly, we see our full-time students completing the MBA closer to the 2-year mark. We also have the option to complete the program part-time. So if you maybe don't want to jump into taking so many courses, or you'd like to keep working full-time or part-time, you do have the flexibility with our MBA program to take that degree part-time, lots of evening courses available, and even some weekend courses as well. The average part-time student takes about 4 years to go through that, but you do have that up to 6 years. And this is even flexible as you're going through the program if you'd like to change your course load. And like I said, a lot of that flexibility in the course times. And I'll show you some example schedules in a bit. Before I do, I just do want to show you a bit about the curriculum and what all of you will learn in the program. So starting off the program, you'll take our boot camps. So those are boot camps that everyone will start with to make sure you're up to that level to begin your classes. So we have our basic quantitative analysis boot camp. That's going to make sure that you get that refresher on your quantitative skills that you'll use in your courses, and spreadsheet skills for management, which is something that's really important to use in your courses as well. So you'll take those online before starting your classes. And then at some point during your degree, you will take a career development seminar. That's hosted by our Career Development Center, those graduate staff that I mentioned before, who are our career consultants. They're going to go over everything from building your personal brand. So how do you identify your strengths and how do you sort of give your pitch to an employer in a job interview? And they'll go over those interview skills, resume skills for applying for leadership positions. They even have something as part of that called Interview Mania, which is kind of like interview speed dating with executives and leaders at different Manitoba businesses. And you get that chance to go through the interview process in a quicker way to make sure that you're prepared. And they cover lots more. And then we have the degree itself. So your degree is made up of half program core, then that is in leadership and business foundations. The other half is electives. So this is also where that flexibility comes in. The whole degree is not prescribed to you. Those electives really give you the flexibility to tailor it towards your interests, or even do a general management MBA if you'd like to learn a little bit about everything. So going back to that program core, you'll all take 30 credits in this. So this includes areas like leadership. So just a sampling of the courses you'll take include things like executive leadership and responsibility. That course explores the challenges that are inherent in senior leadership and being an executive. So what can you learn from some of the mistakes and successes of executives? And then courses like strategic leadership and managing change. So that goes back to that strategic thinking. And then you'll also learn business foundations, which is a really key part of doing an MBA degree. So those skills, tools, and that knowledge that you need to be able to start your own business venture or to go on and make an impact in your organization. And you'll learn about all of that. So managing people and organizations, marketing, accounting, corporate finance, supply chain, and critical and creative thinking. So I like to kind of think of that as the pieces of the puzzle. So you'll learn about all of those different pieces of the puzzle that is your organization or business. And these courses really bring in a lot of different aspects. So you'll be looking at the technical, theoretical, analytical, interpersonal as well. So you can also explore areas like sustainability and how to use strategy in that, and the impact that you can make in a leadership role by proposing solutions that are both sustainable and ethical. And a lot of your courses include things like group discussions or guest speakers from business leaders. They also include case studies, so learning from leadership. Also experiential exercises, some student-led presentations as well that you can do, and different teachings from your professors and your faculty who are experts in these areas. So these are the concentrations and themes that we offer. You can choose up to 2 of these to make up that elective half of your degree. So this can allow you to graduate from the MBA degree with those 2 specialty areas if you'd like. You can also do that general management, which covers a bit of everything, and that's up to you to choose that. So we have these areas such as finance, leadership and organizations, marketing and supply chain management. Those are developing more of those industry-specific knowledge. We also have a specialized concentration called financial analyst if you want to pursue CFA. And then we have some interdisciplinary where you can take courses that are brought in from other master's programs. So if you want to make a difference in healthcare, you could do healthcare administration, where you take courses on the Bannatyne campus. Or you could do management of public enterprises if you work with or for government entities. Then you can even create your own with our business school if there's something else that interests you. We also have our themes. So this is more of a mindset and a lens that you can apply to business. These are things like international and emerging markets. And as part of that, some of our students will do an international study tour where they'll go to another country. They've gone to Iceland in the past. We're going to Mauritius in the future, and to visit different businesses there, learn from their business culture and how we can apply that to a Canadian context. A lot of that focuses on sustainability. We also do have our sustainability theme and entrepreneurship and innovation. So that can give you a sense of what you'll learn. I do want to talk a bit about planning your time. So you'll want to think about your personal and your work commitments when committing to the MBA degree. So you can expect to have around 3 hours of work outside of class for every 1 hour spent inside of class. Of course, this varies depending on the class and yourself or your group. A lot of this will be group and project work that's dependent on your peer schedules as well. It's a lot easier in the day of Zoom and Teams, but you may have to balance that into your schedule. I will say you have the option to alternate between course loads. So say you start off and you are taking just one course, you feel like you can do more the next term, you can work with your advisor to plan that, and vice versa. If there's a busy time in your life or your family, you can pull back your course load for a term or more. So this is just an example of a full-time schedule where you might take 3 to 6 courses per term. This is just an example. We have daytime and evening classes available, but many of our classes are in the evening. Very common to see students taking those 6:15 to 9:30 p.m. classes. Here's an example of part-time. This would be about 1 to 2 courses per term. And of course, you can do something in between. But in this example, they're taking 2 evening classes. So this makes it a bit easier to balance it with your personal commitments and your work schedule. So now let's talk about the admission requirements and what you need to get into the program. So for our MBA degree, many of you will require a bachelor's degree. I'll go over an option called special admission in just a bit, but most of you will require a 3 or 4 year bachelor's degree in any discipline. It does not have to be business. In that degree, we're looking for at least a 3.0 GPA on a 4.5 scale over the most recent 60 credits. So if you're still studying, focusing on those last 60 credit hours is going to be really crucial to make sure that you're set up for success when you're applying. And then we look for your resume that demonstrates some of your work experience. And over that, we do need to see at least 2 years of work experience before you can apply. So if you're not at that stage yet, that's something that you can work towards before applying. We also need 2 professional letters of reference from supervisors. Then, many of you will have to take an exam called the GMAT, the Graduate Management Admission Test. I'll talk more about that in a moment. I know Jim talked about his experience of prepping for that exam, which is really helpful. I'll go over some more resources and how you can book it. Before I do that, some of you may not need the GMAT. We have some exemptions. I'll talk more about this, but we do have an exemption for those of you with a high GPA, so 3.3 or higher over those last 2 years. We can replace the GMAT with an alternative assessment. Or if you hold CPA Canada, CFA, or a PEng designation, engineering, and 2 years of practice, you don't need an assessment or the GMAT. We also have another one for recent University of Manitoba graduates. If you have a 3.5 GPA in science, arts, or engineering, plus a B+ in certain math courses, or an Asper Bachelor of Commerce with 3.5, then you may be exempt if you've done that within the past 5 years. I do want to talk a little bit more about this alternative assessment. This is the most common GMAT exemption that we see. So if you have that GPA of 3.3 or higher on a 4.5 scale, you can take this assessment instead of the GMAT. You do need to pass it in order to be exempt, but this is something that you can put in your application that you'd like to be considered for. It's an alternative to the GMAT, but still does test for some of those same skills. So this is a recorded computer-based assessment, so you'll be on video when you complete this. It's 30 minutes, done all at once, and it's going to test your verbal reasoning, critical reasoning, and quantitative reasoning. So we are still looking for that baseline quantitative skill. There's 5 separately timed tasks, and 2 of those test your ability to reason and solve problems with quantitative methods. So I do still recommend studying for this assessment if you plan to go this route. This is what it looks like. You'll get a question, and then you're timed as you answer that and go through the process. Then we have our GMAT exam. If you don't meet one of those exemptions, you will have to take the GMAT, but the skills from the GMAT, they transfer into the program. So communication, decision-making, those quantitative skills. So it is a good prep. So this is the Graduate Management Admission Test. If you've heard of the LSAT for law school, it's like that, but for business school. You can register at mba.com. There is a fee for that. You can take it in person at test centers throughout the country or online, which is a simpler way to do it. You get your results quickly. So you need to take this before the deadline. So why would you need to take the GMAT? Again, it's those skills. And if you don't qualify for an exemption, you will need to provide a GMAT score. We also require a GMAT score that's a high, strong GMAT score for consideration for a special admission, which I'll talk about. But the GMAT is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, covering areas like quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, and data insights. You can do prep programs like Jim talked about, where he went to Toronto to do that. We have things like that in cities around Canada. If you'd like to do an intensive prep, there's also lots of paid resources online through Kaplan, Pearson, and GMAT. But there's also free resources that you can start off with. So on mba.com, which is the GMAT website, they have a 6-week study planner, which I think is a good place to start to see where you're at and how much time you need to study. They also have 2 free practice exams that you can download. I like to always recommend starting with those, getting your baseline, kind of seeing what level you're at, and using that to determine how long you might need to study for. We have some other admission options that you may be able to take. So if you're here today and you don't have an undergraduate degree, or maybe you don't quite meet the GPA requirement, but you have extensive experience, maybe you're a director, or you are an executive, or you have a lot of management experience, you may want to apply for special admission. This is where we have a limited number of spaces available each year for those with extensive work and community experience. If you would like to do this, you do need to go through an interview process and provide a very strong GMAT score. So a high GMAT score, so really prep for that exam, and a number of other areas to support your application. So please get in touch with me if that's something that you're interested in. Or if you're not sure whether you meet the qualifications or you're just not ready yet, you may want to do the occasional student option. You do need a degree to do this, but this isn't yet applying to MBA. Instead, it's applying to be able to take up to 12 credit hours of MBA courses. So you don't need to submit your references. We do need to just see your transcript and your application, and you can take the courses that you see here. And then you're able to, within 5 years, apply those courses towards your degree and apply to the MBA program where you will still need to meet the requirements. But it's a good option to start. So our tuition and fees are roughly $40,000 on average for a part-time student. If you do a graduate co-op, so a paid work term, that's an additional fee. We do have funding available. So we do have 3 fellowships available that are worth $15,000 for self-funded Canadian Indigenous MBA students. We're looking for a minimum 3.0, and you can't be funded. So you do need to be paying for your own degree. But that is a really great opportunity. We do give those out every fall to people who've applied for the fall or winter term of that year. So definitely consider that when you're in the program. That is worth a lot of money towards your degree, covers over a third of the cost of that degree. We also have annual scholarships for high GPA holders and Indigenous student awards available on our website, both through the university and through Asper. And then we have bursaries, which are grants based on financial need. I always applied for those as an undergraduate student, and I encourage you to do that every fall by October. You can receive money towards your degree that you don't have to pay back. So lastly, I'll recap what you need to do to apply. First of all, I recommend starting that practice exam for GMAT and scheduling that GMAT exam if you don't qualify for an exemption. Then prepare your resume, so make sure it's up to date and reflects your experience, and approach your references, so your managers, and ask them to be your reference. Then you can apply online. It costs $100. The deadline to apply for August start is May 1st. January intake, which we also offer, it has an October 1st deadline. So keep those dates in mind for when you're ready to apply. Thank you so much. And now I'll take some questions. I do have my email, aspergradrecruit, and the IBEP email, ibep@umanitoba.ca, which you can take a photo of if you would like to stay in touch.